Manufacturing is the pursuit of perfection. At every step, designs need to be improved, processes reduced, and waste removed. By the time products reach the public, they are sleek, fast, and efficient. In today's world, just surviving as a manufacturer means striving for excellence, while thriving demands something truly exceptional. Over the next half hour, we'll be talking to some of the UK's leading manufacturers and sharing the secrets that make them exceptional.
So when you think about manufacturing, efficiency is absolutely key because ultimately it's what drives the cost of manufacturing. So if you've got a production line that maybe costs 20 million euros to buy and you're only running at 50%, you're only really using half your asset. And if you then say you've got 50 lines in a business, then you might have £1 billion worth of assets tied up and only being half used. So it's absolutely key to make lines more efficient. Whilst efficiency is important in a lot of them, there are different drivers that make a difference to different manufacturers. So for example, in soft drinks and brewing, really OEE and yield are quite important. Whereas in pharmaceutical and maybe some of the high-end whiskies, etc., it's more about quality. And then you might look at snacks business where it's really all about yield. So it depends on the industry and the sector, depending on what the core drivers are of the business.
Well, efficiency is very important because, of course, efficiency really gets to the profit margins. If we're not efficient, then we're not profitable, basically.
Manufacturing is vital to the UK economy. You've got your retail and finance industries, but without the backbone of manufacturing in the UK, I think we'd be lost. We're very specialist in engineering, quality and development. And on top of that, manufacturing brings jobs, and that has a knock-on effect on transport, construction and a lot of other industries. So yeah, it is vital to the country.
I think Britain's a very good environment for manufacturers. I think we adhere to all safety regulations and we're very central. So I think it's a very good environment as a central part of the world for us for logistics, etc.
Manufacturing is a critical industry to the British economy, driving jobs and investment. The UK has a rich history as the home of manufacturing, bringing together the best engineering with high-quality production. Ensuring that Britain can continue to be a force in manufacturing needs the landscape for innovation and entrepreneurship.
The government support as a supporting industry within the UK is absolutely fundamental because you're going back to balance of payments. So the less we import and the more we export is better for trade, is better for the British economy. And the more that we make in this country and use in this country is better for the British economy. So the DTI and the government should be supporting British industry to the absolute hilt.
I think it's vital that government supports businesses that are developing new products to help mitigate threats that are levelled against the country, whether that's from whether they're security or firearms or blast and ballistics. Some of the more specialist test programs are very expensive for businesses to embark on, and so it's only really businesses that are doing really well and plenty of cash in the bank that are normally able to embark on these test programs. For us as a relatively small family business, we've had to work really hard, investing our hard-earned cash flow into our test programs. And we have been able to tap into a couple of grants. Regional Growth Fund was one that really helped us to get a grant to get our first big laser machine. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to have gone down that road. Support for small companies, small medium-sized companies who are developing innovative ideas for me is vital.
British companies compete, certainly at the moment, because of the very weak pound, I guess. Therefore, we can make our export market that much larger and bigger. And I think really that is the key at the moment, why our export market is very competitive in the world.
So when you think about efficiencies in Europe versus the rest of the world, ultimately the cost of labour in Europe and UK has been significantly higher than some of the more emerging markets. And because of that, the efficiencies of production lines have been a lot more important. So what you find is that generally UK tends to have more efficient lines, but to be honest, the emerging markets are now closing that gap. And as labour costs increase in places like Brazil, India, China, there will be a drive for more efficient lines.
Quality is the hallmark of the world's best manufacturers, bringing together efficiency with robust, long-lasting products. Creating products that can remain cost-effective without skimping on quality is a major challenge, overcome by better design, development and engineering.
As new tools become available on the marketplaces, as they do invariably all the time, they get into the wrong hands and they're used for the wrong reasons. It's really important for us to stay one step ahead. So we'll look at the different tools that might be a threat to a robbery, and we'll actually come and test them on our doors within the factory. Different types of hydraulic tools or cutting saws, whatever there is out there being used, we will look at those and assess our products with those threats in mind, and if need be we'll develop different products to mitigate the risks that those new tools pose. We've benefited as a business greatly from working with a local university, Wolverhampton University, and we've taken on, we won a knowledge transfer partnership at KTP with Wolverhampton University, which secured funding for a student, a graduate, to be with us for 2 years, and we were able to set a specific task for him during that period. And what TJ was doing was designing our building information models, our BIM models. So we now, as a business, we're almost up to the end of that 2-year program, and we now have building information models which are on architects' websites and able to be downloaded, and on our own website, and able to be downloaded and just inserted straight into architects' drawing models.
Since I've been here, the company has developed in several different ways, including 3D design technologies that have recently been implemented, and the introduction of building information modelling, which was a challenge within the KTP project that I'm currently heading. Within the KTP project, I had to ensure that the company was BIM ready by 2016, so compliant with the government mandate that they had set for 2016. Within the KTP project, I have a couple of objectives, and some of those objectives are to improve the efficiency of the design processes within the office. So that includes the implementation of a design change request, which allows us to keep track of all the design versions and the different versions that we currently have within the company.
I think a lot of the materials that we have to work with, a lot of the smart materials we have to work with, change people's ability to produce things more cost effectively, but also achieve standards, whether that be security, aesthetics, whatever, that they need in modern day society, because society is changing in such a way that there are bigger risks out there, and we need to adapt how we live and what we live with to accommodate the changes in society.
It's important that manufacturing businesses invest in new solutions to drive the automation and the productivity of factories. Ultimately, if we stay static, the competitors will get ahead. So we've got to find a way of always improving. And I believe that FMCG manufacturing often lead the way in that sector. The manufacturing industry is really being redefined by new technology and new automation and new methods of bringing materials to lines, etc. If you think about where we're heading as an industry, predictive analysis is going to allow people to anticipate issues and deal with them before they happen. The technology going into drones and robots are going to allow materials to be fed to lines just flown in from a drone, which at the moment is being brought in by human beings. And ultimately, machines will be able to close the loop on issues. So they'll be able to see what's happening out there and then actually fix the problems themselves. So FMCG future, ultimately, it's going to be a lights out operation eventually. And therefore, to achieve that, it's about having better data, more intelligence, and really that's what's going to accelerate that journey. So in order to go from where we are now to fully autonomous and lights out, there's going to be lots of small incremental improvements on machines, on material supply, on quality, that's really going to drive a pretty exciting future really for FMCG. In order to integrate manufacturing intelligence to autonomous machines, we have to find a way of moving from providing data that currently we provide to human beings in order for them to make decisions, to then finding a way to integrate that into the machines themselves, which allows them to close a loop and take actions themselves, or even to drones or robots, so that eventually there's no human being required. And ultimately we need to provide the data in a way that allows those robots and drones to make decisions for themselves. Automation is absolutely crucial in order to advance manufacturing in FMCG market. Ultimately, if you look at the trend of history, 20 years ago, there were probably 5 times as many operators on a production line than there are now. And if you look to the future, in reality, there's probably going to be less again, even down to lights out potentially. The only way of achieving that is through automation. So it's absolutely crucial.
I think automation inevitably loses staff. The problem we have with staff is that we need to innovate the staff a little. We need to make it attractive for them. When you've got automation, you're going to need less and less staff. And at present, I think we're getting to that stage. It's not obviously so manual, so it's more of a checking process through electronics and making sure everything's running along a production line rather than manually do it themselves.
Today's technology moves so fast that almost as products reach the market, the next generation is already reaching completion. New materials and techniques arrive so quickly and can change the face of a sector overnight. Keeping pace with new developments and harnessing them to deliver better products is a necessity for any modern manufacturer.
Obviously, there's a lot being said at the moment about 3D printing, which is a great thing really for prototyping, etc. And also the facilities now that we're seeing as far as drones. Drones are going to play a very big part, I think, in industry over the next few years.
Modern machines have a huge amount of data available to them, but it's important to recognise that not all of it's important right now, and therefore what you need to do is really establish what are the key elements and what is the key data for this moment in time, and then provide that in a very visual way. It's important that the data that we provide is available on tablets and mobile phones, for example. The reason for that is the whole market and the trend is moving towards more and more of those devices being out there. And ultimately, we want to make it as convenient as possible for people to see the data. So eventually, our data will be converted into intelligence that then almost advises people what to do. And in order to do that, the best way of doing it is through what they're already familiar with, which are devices like tablets and mobiles.
Technological advancement in the last year has been incredible. In the last 10 years, it's been unbelievable. My age group has seen so much happen in our lifetime, and I just wonder where the young people of today, where can it go? But it is moving, and it will continue to move. So we must embrace it. Technology within the door industry and the new materials that we're able to work with is probably being enhanced mainly by the glass that we can now use. Glass that is probably 40 millimetres thick, which isn't very, very thick, will stop a Magnum 44 bullet. Now that glass is only as good as the door and the frame that it sits within, but with that advancement of the materials that you use within the glass, you've got this marriage now between the architect who is designing a building or a secure environment, and his main concern is the aesthetics. And then on the other hand, you've got the security element, which is very important. But now that you can use glass, you've got a meeting of two different mindsets that can achieve a better looking door, but also a more secure one.
Collaboration within industry sets real innovators apart. Bringing together knowledge and expertise from across different sectors leads to better ideas and products that can change the way we think of their marketplace. Working together pushes the boundaries of what's possible and creates new markets and new customers.
Ultimately, it's a really good thing if different manufacturers collaborate to improve manufacturing facilities. Clearly, there's going to be some competitive situations where that wouldn't be advantageous, but generally in industry, it's possible that people can use big data analytics in order to advance technology and move towards a more efficient automation. And that can be accelerated significantly by different businesses working together to achieve it.
Sharing knowledge and collaborating with other manufacturers is very key to your development as a manufacturer and manufacturing processes, because there's certain things that we do on a daily basis that if you're not looking and embracing change, and obviously with the technology advancing very quickly, you'll just keep doing what you've always done. So therefore, sharing information, looking at new ways of doing things is very, very important, because the world is changing so quickly.
Biggest change in packaging sector certainly over the next few years, possibly environmental issues. I think we're getting to the stage now where things that are not biodegradable going into landfill are going to be taxed very heavily, and that's why I think we need to move certainly forward on biodegradable products and only using biodegradable products.
In today's world, every company has a duty to protect the environment. For manufacturers, this is doubly challenging. Both the process of manufacturing and the products themselves need to be environmentally friendly. This begins at the drawing board, designing products to be recyclable and using processes that are efficient and effective.
The green agenda is something that's been gathering pace over the last few years. We try to be very careful with our carbon footprint, and we actually recycle all of our waste cardboard and all of our waste foam. In terms of what we supply to customers, cardboard is primarily biodegradable, and the foam that we use is also recyclable. But there obviously are implications if that material isn't recycled. But that's the way forward at the moment.
We have an awful lot of regulations in packaging to do with RoHS and REACH and NATO packaging. We have our own, in this country, a form of ISO, which is an accreditation obviously given to companies for their mandate that they have to adhere to really, and all the rules and regulations of packaging and waste packaging. Green Agenda has created a lot of problems to the packaging industry. We now have most packaging of a recyclable nature.
How does ISO quality control affect the way we work? Well, essentially it maintains our processes for us, allows us to gather information accurately and then use that information to improve the product design process or the product manufacturing process, depending on which part of the ISO aspects we're talking about.
Even as manufacturing becomes more and more automated, the people behind the machines remain a critical part of the process. Highly skilled and motivated people with an innovative spirit are a major asset for any company. Finding the right people ensures that your products can lead the field.
That's probably other areas that young people nowadays would rather go into, on media and stuff like that, rather than manufacturing. But I think really because the apprenticeship thing has come online a little bit more now in the UK, I think that's going to encourage far more young people to get into manufacturing processes within industry. Apprenticeships are a very good thing to get people into the industry and then getting their skill levels up. Because once they come out of schooling or indeed university, I think really they've then got to start afresh from what they've been doing and what they've been learning. But certainly keeping the skills up on training programs and stuff within companies is a must, really. I think the standard of people you get from university are people who are obviously far more educated and can bring a lot more innovative aspects to a company rather than your chap off the street, I should say. So I do feel that they're very important in the long run for joining companies.
Staff will always be important in the manufacturing process. However, over time that will diminish as the number of people reduce. What will be essential though is that the people that are involved in the manufacturing process and the technicians will be more highly skilled, because they're going to have to deal with unusual situations that the autonomous parts, the robots, the drones can't deal with. So it's all going to be about high skill, high problem solving and fixing issues. Automated production lines need highly skilled people ultimately, but less of them. So where the manual labour element almost drops away, the skill and the requirements for the labour is all about problem solving, analysis and fixing things. In order to sustain improvement, there really needs to be a rigour to the management routines. So once we've established great information and good data, then there needs to be an ongoing methodology rigour to routines. And we advise having short interval control, which is almost every 2 to 4 hours, daily meetings and then weekly meetings. And each one has its own focus to really make the manufacturing process robust and help improvements become sustainable.
I actually have a 16-year-old lad who is looking to do his GCSEs next year, and we are looking at obviously considering university. I think looking to industry, where the apprenticeship scheme is now on the up, and that mixture of working with industry and also going to open university or college can, for some people, be a better way to basically developing life skills, developing career paths, and you're out there in the field embracing this very fast moving change that you see on a factory floor rather than sat in the classroom.
More so than any industry, manufacturing must always be looking to the future. Today's products never stand still and need to continue to grow and advance, and their manufacturers must do the same. Being open to new ideas and innovations with the vision to see the next big thing is essential for any company that wants to lead their industry.
Manufacturing will change. The problems with manufacturing at the moment is that what tends to happen within the UK is when companies start producing things in vast quantities, they do tend then to push the manufacturing process abroad. China, Middle East, everywhere, and Eastern Europe bloc countries. And I think that is the problem we're looking at over the next decade, manufacturing that's actually disappearing from the UK abroad. Packaging technology has improved over the years, We've still got some way to go yet on making sure that packaging is more environmentally friendly. We have an awful lot of packaging, that most packaging now is recyclable, but we really have to look at the green issue of the packaging and make sure that most packaging now is biodegradable.
I think the future looks very good. I think if you look at security standards, testing, and British manufacturing, it's a higher standard than anywhere else in the world. We go to a number of shows, and the Security and Policing Home Office event, the counter-terror event, and the foreign nationals that are at these events only just tells you that they consider the standards that we have in the UK are second to none.
I imagine that FMCG manufacturing will all move towards world class over time. At the moment, some manufacturers operate in the 60 to 65% arena. There are some that can achieve 85 to 90%. And over time, I believe that all manufacturing businesses will move towards that. Industry 4.0 or Internet of Things or smart factories, ultimately it's about gathering lots of data, providing it in a very contextual way, making it available everywhere, but also then narrowing down what's important and crucial now. And if you think that all that data is available now, but we need to find a way of analysing it and visualising that so that it makes sense to anyone, then that's what's going to make the difference. So the main cause of the bottlenecks on lines is really what's stopping the critical machine. And what does that is really very, very dependent on the design of the line. So some lines are a lot more robust than others. And then you have to accept in FMCG manufacturing, you've got many variables that are changing all the time. And therefore, some machines operate well in one condition, running one SKU, but doesn't run so well in another line, another SKU. So there's a huge amount of parameters and different variables that can have a major effect on bottleneck.